liquid sources setup is the next selection I will work with under the System tab. Liquid sources are set up and configured from the liquid sources selection. Each liquid source will have specific configurations and setup and control parameters. Here, new liquids are added to the system and set up by the operator. Each liquid source is tied to a specific liquid name, pump, and either a flow meter or a loss and weight liquid stand. Select the particular liquid stand to view or edit from the table on the left. So that once you select this particular liquid stand on the left, it will populate the fields on the right. This record can now be edited and then saved. So I will move through the parameters and settings and show each and every step and how you can move, you can adjust accordingly. For this particular example, I'm going to work with liquid stand 2. So the name of the liquid stand is called out as liquid stand 2, and that can be named up to the operator's discretion. The location is an optional field to identify the stand location. The source type identifies the stand as either a flow meter or a loss and weight setup. So that will be set up according to how the liquid stand is configured. So for this example, we're going to stay with a loss and weight source type. To confirm my selection, you need to press the check mark and that will confirm it. The source amount is the value in fluid ounces that are currently on or in the tank on the liquid stand. The value needs to be manually adjusted when the liquid is added, but the value will automatically be subtracted when the order is completed. So for example, if an order is ran and 50 ounces is applied out of that particular liquid stand, this source amount would automatically go down to 1,200 fluid ounces. Source capacity is the max fluid ounce capacity that the selected liquid source has. So for this particular liquid source, it's set at 2,000 fluid ounces, and that can be edited per source. The flow meter cal factor, or the FM cal factor, is adjusted after a calibration cycle is ran. And this is specific to the flow meter itself. I will show you what the loss and weight, where that is calculated, the density is calculated for that. So right now we have loss and weight set up. It wouldn't necessarily look at this flow meter cal factor. So if I had flow meter set up, it would look at that calibration factor. So I will move back to loss and weight and confirm my selection. The fault over tolerance or over under tolerance, so this would be fault over, this would be fault under. This percentage will set an upper and lower window around the set point for the pump tolerance. This parameter works in conjunction with the fault over and under time. So if the pump is outside of that set point by 5% or more for 8 seconds or more, it will fault the pump out and trigger an alarm stating that the liquid pump has faulted out. And the same with under. So it's 5% under over for 8 seconds or more, and the pump will fault out, alarming the user of an issue or a problem. The batch fault over under percentage are not being used at this time. they are being used for future use. So these would be fault over, fault under, pump fault over, pump fault under, aren't currently being used in our current setup. They're just there as the automation progresses and will be there if there's an upgrade in the future. The liquid name selection, so you have two parts of a liquid stand really. You have your upper limit, if you will, with your source amount, your capacities, your fault over and unders, and then you drop down to the naming selection and how to configure each name. So for this liquid name, to enter in and change the values, I will select the 3 tires with the gear, which is representative of the database. So this particular liquid name, abbreviated EHV, if I select that, it populates all the information here on the right-hand side. The name is unique for each liquid added to the system. So it's a unique name for each chemical. So each name needs to be unique in this setup. As you can tell, each name is different from the rest. So I will move back to EHV. This will show you the available fluid ounces of that particular chemical. So for example, if you bring in 5 15-gallon kegs of chemical, you would input that amount in there. So for that amount, you would actually have 9,600 fluid ounces of chemical. So that would basically give you the available fluid ounces, and that can be set up at the beginning of the year, and it can be added. If you get some more in, this will need to be adjusted manually. The alert fluid ounces, is when AutoTreat is used with Seed Connects, which is our data solution. This value is used to set up a minimum fluid ounces amount for the selected liquid. When this value is hit, an email will be sent to the recipients set up in Seed Connects. So this is only available through our Seed Connect system. The minimum and maximum rate, these control parameters set up are to control the minimum and max allowed for a particular liquid. If a recipe is set up with the liquid with a rate that falls outside of this window, the operator will be alerted that the selected rate is not allowable. So, for example, if the max rate for this particular pump was set at 120 ounces, and that's set on calibration, so it'll give you an alert when you set up a recipe. If it falls out of that max rate of 120 ounces a minute, it will alert you and let you know that it cannot achieve that rate. So either there can be a combination of things that need to be done to either lower that rate or do something mechanical to the stand to help achieve that higher rate. The manufacturer density, this is the density value that the product is or was given from the manufacturer, and this can be inputted right here where it says manufacturer density. Density dash pounds per gallon, this is the density value that is automatically calculated when a calibration cycle is ran with a loss and weight system only. So this is what a loss and weight system looks at, is pounds per gallon. So as I was explaining earlier, this flow meter value right over here that's what a flow meter looks at. This is what a loss and weight system looks at. It's a density pounds per gallon. The AI, active ingredient concentration, that's also set up right there in this particular text box. The lot number, ship number, and manufacturer, these are optional fields that can be used if desired to track these values with an order / delivery of seed, whatever the case may be. And I just want to point out just above here, you have two options to where you can set it up, either grams per ounce or pounds per gallon. So for this particular instance, we're set up as pounds per gallon. And like I've done in the past, when I've updated selections, I would just press right here to save my changes. And as I move through these selections, each chemical that you have in your particular setup can be set up ahead of time as you bring them in, and you can specify these pieces of information. The availability of how many ounces you have, the density from the manufacturer, and so on. I will move down to the pump setup now. So each liquid stand has its own pump. So for this specific pump, IP920 is set up. From default, the default form is 8 pumps are set up automatically. As a user or operator, you just have to make sure that it is set up for pump 2 IP920. That would be for liquid stand 2. If a flow meter was used, this is where you would set up your particular flow meter. As you notice, NA is available at this time. So to populate or add flow meters to the system, you would need to make whichever flow meters active so they can be selected. So for this particular instance, I will select flow meter 2-FM920. What this does is it brings that information over to the right here, and as you will notice right here that this active checkbox is not checked. If it's not checked, you will not get the option when you drop down that menu for flow meter 920. So to save my particular selection, this is how I would keep this flow meter active. And as you will notice, there's several things. The pack mapping, which you don't have to worry about. This is set up previous by an engineer or a KSi technician. Your counts at 0, your max EU, and your average time. Those are parameters that are set up ahead of time, specific to the flow meter, and those parameters are standard across the board for any flow meter. So I will exit out of that. So as you will notice, I made that active, but I still don't see a drop-down menu where I can access a flow meter. To update the database after you've made a change, because I was just in a database, and just to point out, a database is represented by 3 tires and what I call a gear. So to update that, you have to press the check mark, click back in here, and that will give me my updated option of a flow meter. To confirm my option, I click on the check mark, and that will confirm my option. Underneath flow meter, so for this instance, a flow meter does not need to be set up and can be selected as NA. So I will remove the flow meter once again and confirm my selection and move to a scale. This is where you select the specific scale. And like I said, the pump, flow meter, and scale is something that usually is going to be set up by a KSi technician or engineer. So for this specific instance, liquid scale 2 needs to be selected for liquid stand 2. So to confirm my selection, I press the check mark, and to update my selection, I will press the pen with the pad of paper, which is the save or the update button, and that will confirm my selection. So any changes that I made moving throughout here, you know, if I wanted to update fault over time to 10 seconds, then I could change that and update them here. That concludes the liquid stand setup